You are Wonkru or you are the enemy of Wonkru. Choose. Those words weren't spoken by a hardened warlord with decades of battle experience. They came from a girl who spent the first 16 years of her life hidden under a floor. I dare say that Octavia Blake's transformation is the most shocking character evolution in television history. From hidden second child to the Red Queen, who forced her people to cannibalism to survive, her journey is brutal, complex, and tragically beautiful. Do you believe the Hundred's writers missed the perfect ending for Octavia? Or that her story should have concluded 2 whole seasons before the series finale? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm about to break down the complete saga of Octavia Blake. Every triumph, every loss, every transformation. And by the end, I'll show you the exact moment the show should have let her go. Octavia's story resonated with me because at some point in my life, I felt like I didn't belong anywhere, and my existence itself was a crime. If complex character journeys like hers intrigue you, hit that subscribe button right now. So let's begin where Octavia did, hidden under the floor simply for the crime of being born. Birth in secrecy. We start at the Ark, humanity's last refuge after the nuclear apocalypse destroyed Earth. Resources were so scarce that having more than one child was punishable by death. But Aurora Blake broke that law, hiding her pregnancy and giving birth to a second child, a daughter. We see young Bellamy, just 6 years old, watching his mother give birth and helping keep the baby quiet. Aurora tells her son to name the child, and drawing from Roman mythology, he names her Octavia, after the sister of Emperor Augustus. Your sister, your responsibility, Aurora tells him. Words that would shape both their lives forever. For 16 years, Octavia Blake lived in a single room, never stepping outside, forced to hide under the floorboards during inspections. Can you imagine that existence? Never seeing another face besides your mother and brother, never feeling sunlight, never having friends? It's no wonder that when we first meet Octavia, she's filled with rage, resentment, and an insatiable hunger for freedom. Her capture came when Bellamy, now an art guard cadet, snuck her out to a masquerade dance, which was her first taste of freedom. When a solar flare alert disrupted the party, requiring ID checks, Octavia was discovered, her mother executed, and Octavia imprisoned simply for existing. Would you have Octavia's hunger for freedom? Or her brother's instinct for protection? I'm genuinely curious which side of the Blake siblings you relate to more. Freedom on Earth. When 100 juvenile delinquents are sent to Earth to test its habitability, Octavia is among them. Bellamy, desperate to protect his sister, shoots Chancellor Jaha to secure a spot on the dropship. The moment the dropship door opens, we see the true Octavia for the first time. She becomes the first person to step on Earth in 97 years, throwing her arms wide and shouting, "We're back, bitches!" Those first days on Earth show us exactly who Octavia is when unleashed. She's reckless, defiant, and determined to experience everything she's been denied. While others worry about survival, Octavia jumps into glowing butterflies, strips to swim in a river, and challenges authority at every turn. But Earth isn't the paradise they hoped for. The ground is already inhabited by survivors called grounders, and Octavia's life changes completely when she meets Lincoln, a grounder who saves her life instead of taking it. This relationship becomes the turning point in her journey. Lincoln shows Octavia another way to live as a warrior with a code, as someone who can bridge 2 worlds. Through Lincoln, she begins learning Trigida slang, which is the grounder language, fighting techniques, and most importantly, find someone who loves her for exactly who she is. For the first time, Octavia begins to find her place. Not with the sky people, not with the grounders, but somewhere in between. The girl who grew up belonging nowhere begins forging her own path. If you're enjoying this breakdown of Octavia's incredible journey, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. Becoming a warrior. In Season 2, we see Octavia transform from an impulsive teenager to a disciplined warrior when Indra, a fierce grounder leader, chooses her as her second apprentice. This mentorship gives Octavia something she's desperately needed: purpose and belonging. "You're not one of us, and you're not one of them," Indra tells her. But instead of breaking her, this statement liberates Octavia. She doesn't have to choose a side. She can be the bridge between worlds. She trains relentlessly, learns to fight with a sword, and embraces grounder culture so completely that many forget she wasn't born to it. Octavia becomes the embodiment of what could be possible: unity between the sky people and grounders. But the universe isn't done taking from Octavia Blake. Season 3 delivers her most devastating loss when Lincoln is executed by Charles Pike, a xenophobic leader from the Ark who sees all grounders as enemy. The execution is brutal. Lincoln is forced to his knees in the mud, shot in the head, as Octavia watches from a distance, unable to save him. The moment breaks something fundamental in Octavia. The bridge between worlds crumbles. After Lincoln's death, she becomes consumed by vengeance, eventually assassinating Pike with the same brutal efficiency she learned as a warrior. Blood must have blood, the Grounder's saying goes, and Octavia embraces this philosophy wholly. Only that vengeance doesn't heal her wound, but deepens it. By the end of Season 3, Octavia has become something new. Not quite Grounder, not quite Sky Person, but a weapon forged in loss and betrayal. When she kills Pike and rides away on horseback, her transformation is clear. The girl under the floor is gone for good. This is just the beginning of her metamorphosis. The Champion and Red Queen. Season 4 presents humanity with a new apocalypse, a wave of radiation that will make the surface uninhabitable again. The only safe haven is a bunker built by a doomsday cult, which can shelter 1,200 people. But with multiple clans fighting for limited spots, a solution seems impossible until Octavia enters the arena. In one of the show's most spectacular sequences, Octavia fights as the Sky People's champion in a conclave, which is a tournament to determine which clan gets the bunker. Against all odds, facing warriors much larger and more experienced, Octavia wins not through brute strength, but cunning and determination. And then comes her most surprising decision. Instead of claiming the bunker solely for her people, she declares that each clan will receive an equal share of spots. "We survive together," she announces, creating Wonkru, simply meaning one clan. It's her finest moment. The girl who belonged nowhere creates a place where everyone belongs. But what happens next transforms her into something terrifying. When debris blocks the bunker door, Wonkru is trapped underground for 6 years instead of the planned 5. Food shortages, rebellions, and desperation set in. Octavia makes an impossible choice. She institutes gladiatorial combat to punish crimes and reduce the population. The fighting pits become her solution to every problem. Those who refuse to fight die anyway. Those who win get to live another day. The system is brutal but effective. It channels violence, creates entertainment, and culls the population. 2 years into their confinement comes the dark year, when the hydro farm fails and the only protein source left is the dead. Octavia forces her people into cannibalism, executing those who refuse to eat. She takes that burden upon herself, becoming a monster so others can survive without bearing the moral weight. She emerges from the bunker as Blodrena, the Red Queen, with her face painted with blood, leading an army of traumatized survivors who both fear and worship her. The transformation is complete. From the girl under the floor to the woman bathed in blood who commands life and death. Have you ever wondered what you would do in an impossible situation like the Dark Year? Would you make the brutal choice Octavia did to ensure survival? Or would you search for another way? The ethical questions. The 100 raises are why I can't stop analyzing this show. If you feel the same way, subscribe now and join our community of enthusiasts who love teasing apart these complex moral dilemmas. The Broken Queen. Season 5 shows Blodrena at the height of her power and the depth of her corruption. When a habitable valley is discovered, Octavia becomes obsessed with claiming it for Wonkru, regardless of cost. She's now a dictator who brooks no dissent, executing those who question her, even burning the hydro farm when it finally recovers, eliminating any alternative to war. The power that once saved her people now consumes her. Bellamy, horrified by what his sister has become, poisons her to prevent a massacre. But even this betrayal doesn't stop her. Once recovered, she leads her people on a suicidal march across a desert, determined to take the valley by force. The march becomes a slaughter when Dioza and McCreary's forces ambush them in a narrow gorge. Dozens of Wonkru die following Octavia's orders, and for the first time, we see her facade crack. In a quiet moment with Bellamy after the failed attack, she finally admits the truth. "I burned the farm. I made them march across that desert. I did this. I'm the monster." And then, the crushing realization, I broke Wonkru. It is Octavia's rock bottom, the moment she finally sees the full horror of what she's become. And it leads to the most beautiful redemption moment possible. When a second attack on the valley is imminent, Octavia volunteers to be the distraction. It's a suicide mission to draw enemy fire while her people flank from another direction. She steps out from cover, guns blazing, fully expecting to die as bullets rain around her. "My brother, my responsibility," she whispers, echoing Bellamy's words from their childhood. In this moment, Octavia finally understands her brother's perspective and what it means to sacrifice yourself for those you love. She's shot multiple times, but somehow survives long enough for reinforcements to arrive. Against all odds, Octavia lives to see another day. And this, right here, is where her story should have ended. The missed perfect ending. Just imagine if Octavia had died in that gorge, sacrificing herself to save what remained of Wonkru. It would have been the perfect conclusion to her arc. Born in secret, living in fear, finding freedom only to lose everything, becoming a monster, and then, in her final act, finding redemption through sacrifice as she gives her life for the very people she had led astray. The narrative symmetry would have been perfect. My brother, my responsibility, bringing her journey full circle, showing that she finally understood the burden Bellamy carried all those years. Her death would have carried weight, it would have meant something, it would have been earned. Instead, The 100 keeps her alive for 2 more seasons where her story becomes repetitive and unfocused. She spends much of seasons 6 and 7 seeking redemption again, this time on a new planet called Sanctum. While her time in the anomaly with Dioza and Hope offers some beautiful moments, it ultimately dilutes the power of her Season 5 arc. By the series finale, Octavia helps humanity transcend and chooses to remain human with the other main character, rather than evolving into beings of light. She gets a conventionally happy ending with her new love interest, Levitt. It's fine, but it's nowhere near as powerful as the ending Season 5 offered her. The extended story. So what happens in the final 2 seasons? After barely surviving the end of Season 5, Octavia is exiled by Bellamy for her actions as Blodreina. On Sanctum, she teams up with Dioza to hunt the children of Gabriel, eventually encountering the temporal anomaly that heals her wounded arm. Inside the anomaly, Octavia experiences visions that force her to confront her past. In a powerful hallucination, she sees herself as Blodreina preparing to execute Pike as she recites the same words Pike used before killing Lincoln. Horrified by this mirror of herself, Octavia symbolically kills Blodreina, declaring, "I am Blodreina no more." In Season 7, we learn Octavia had spent 10 years living peacefully on Skyring with Dioza and her daughter Hope, forming a found family before being captured by the Disciple. This storyline gives Octavia something new: the experience of nurturing rather than destroying, of building a family instead of commanding an army. The final season sees Octavia work to stop the Disciples' last war, and ultimately deliver a speech that convinces both sides to lay down their weapons. She passes humanity's final test and allows transcendence. Instead of violence, she chooses peace. Instead of division, she chooses unity. It's a redemptive ending, but it lacks the emotional impact her Season 5 sacrifice would have had. The additional seasons dilute rather than enhance her story. From the girl under the floor to the Red Queen, to the woman who saves humanity through words rather than weapons, Octavia Blake's story spans the entire emotional spectrum of the human experience. She represents the darkest and brightest possibilities within us all, the capacity for unimaginable cruelty and unexpected compassion. She shows us that redemption is always possible, but that the path back from darkness exacts a terrible price. Marie Avgeropoulos delivers one of television's most underrated performances, transforming physically and emotionally with each new phase of Octavia's life. The 100 may have missed Octavia's perfect ending, but it can't diminish the power of her journey. If Octavia's journey resonated with you the way it did with me, you'll definitely want to be part of our community. Hit subscribe now and let me know in the comments. Do you think Octavia should have died at the end of Season 5? Or are you glad she survived until the series finale? I read every comment and I'm genuinely curious what you think about her perfect ending.